Hello, everyone. A very, very good evening to one and all who has joined our live stream. My name is Priya, and I'm one of the co-organizers of GDG Hubli and WTM Hubli. And I'm so happy to welcome you all for our first event of the Frontend Dev Series. And I'm so happy to have Vrijraj Singh, who is a Google developer expert for Firebase and web technologies. So, welcome, Vrij. And for today's session, we will be having our very first event, that is, how does the web work? This event is basically a roadmap of front-end development, wherein you will be getting familiar with all the topics and technologies related to front-end development. Plus, in case if you want to move ahead with having a career of front-end development, you can definitely take this ahead. So, telling you more about Vrij. Vrij is a front-end developer by profession, and he is also a community champion by profession. He is an organizer of GDG Jalandhar, as well as he is also a Google developer expert for Firebase and web technologies. Yes, he is a GDE for two technologies. Also, he has given more than 100 talks and live workshops for communities over the past 5 years. So we are very fortunate and lucky to have Vrij with us today. And welcoming him, I'll hand it over to Vrij. Over to you, Vrij.
Yeah. So first of all, thank you so much, Priya and entire GDG Hubli team for having me. And yeah, so I'm Vrijraj and I'm a Google developer expert for web technology and Firebase. And also I'm running a YouTube channel named Techform and I'm providing a YouTube tutorial on various web developers technologies. So today, overall, I'm going to talk about how web works. So basically, you will get to know about web platform, what are the basic fundamental for the web technologies, and how we can start our career in web technologies. So let's start it with the first part. So today, I'm going to talk about a few things. Like first, we'll go for the web. So basically, what is a web, and then we'll talk about how works and the journey for the website and the web fundamental, and then how you can start your career in web technologies and the web basics. And if you're working on web technologies, so there are a lot of paths. So then we'll cover a technical stack, and then we'll go for the hot topics. So let's start it. So what is a web? So web is just like as a network from the network we can access the documents or maybe web documents. So web is just like as an informational system where we can access the documents or any media file, audio file, text file from one system to another system, or maybe one devices to another device. That could be example for the web technology or a web. And then like every internet one, like for example, as a user, we are accessing a website. So suppose we have a server where we have a website, so it will be at US locations. So you are accessing that website through like these submarine cables. So these submarine cables are connected from continents to different continents, and these all are basically optical fiber where you can get the data in terms of your web page, resources, and all the online documents. And if you want to know more about submarine cables, you just go to the website submarinecablesmap.com, where you get to know about the all types of submarine cables, like from US to India, India to Bangladesh, or any other regions. So we are basically getting an internet from these cables. These all are the optical fibers. And then we have a components for the web technologies, like we have a three terminologies like website, web browser, and the server. So like if I talk about web, so first we have a website. So what is a website? Website is just like as a collections of web page. Like each web page consists of maybe image file, audio file, or text file, or maybe HTML code, CSS code, or JavaScript code. And every website have their specific like first page, or maybe can call as home page. So like every website have their specific entry page, or we can also call it as home page. And each website had their specific URL. basically we called as a website name or the domain name. For example, google.com, twitter.com, facebook.com, any other things. And yeah, so like we can create a website with the help of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Now we need to run that web page. So we need a web browser. So what is a web browser? So in simple way, web browser is a software where we can run our web page. And in the market, there are a lot of web browser where you can run your web page. So for example, you can go for the Chrome, you can go for the Mozilla, Safari, Opera, and each browser have their specific properties in terms of rendering engine. So like we can create a website with the help of HTML, CSS, and the JavaScript, where HTML provide a structure. You can design the web page with the help of CSS, and if you want to add some functionality, then you can go for the JavaScript. So your web page goes to the rendering engine inside a browser, and that rendering engine generate the DOM element where you will be able to see your web page. So each browser have their specific rendering engine. So if I talk about like Google Chrome, so Google Chrome having a two rendering engine. Like main rendering engine is Blink. Inside Blink, there is a one more rendering engine that is Google Chrome V8 engine, which is specifically built for the JavaScript. And if I talk about Microsoft, then they are having a standard rendering engine is Edge HTML, and for the JavaScript they are using Chakra, and similarly for the Safari they are using WebKit. So each browser have their specific rendering engines. So as of now, like we can create a web page with the help of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and then we can run our web page through the browser. Now what we need a server. So like we have created a web page, we can run the web page over the browser. Now our web page should be accessible from n number of locations or from n number of devices. So we need a server where we can upload those web page. So server is just like as a computer where we can upload our web page or maybe media file, any file, text file, object file, any other kind of file. From that system we can access the file. This could be considered as a server. So basically in simple terms, server is used to serve the data to the browsers. Like for example, I have a server. Server is just like as a computer, which is in maybe Bangalore, and inside that system I have a file index.html. So I have a IP of that particular system, so I can access that index.html file through the IP. So that system could be considered as a server. Okay. So then in the market we have a three more terminologies like types of web server. So first one is we have web server. So basically we use web server for serving a web page over the network. Like for example, I have a server in Bangalore location and I'm accessing a web page, means index.html file, CSS file or JavaScript file over the network. So this is an example for the web server. And for web server, we are using HTTP protocol, hypertext transfer protocol. And the second server is email server. Whenever you are using like sending or receiving a mail over the network, so basically you are using email server. So for the email server, you have to basically work on two protocol like SMTP, POP, like simple mail transfer protocol or post office protocol. And the third server, basically you have to work on file FTP server. So whenever you are sending like uploading or downloading a file over the network, so there is a FTP server. Through the FTP server, you can download and upload the file. And there is a protocol we are using, FTP protocol. So these all are the basic three terminologies like a website, browser, and the server. So these all are the connected things. Like we can create a web page with the help of web technological language like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and then we can run our web page through the web browser, and then we can upload our web page to the server so that our web page should be accessible from n number of devices or locations. Okay. So if I talk about specifically web server, like not for email and FTP server, specifically web server. So in the market, we have three types of web server, or you can use any other servers. Like if you are working on like Node.js based applications, so you have to mostly working on Nginx. Or if you're working on PHP or Perl language, so maybe you have to work on Apache. Or if you are working on .NET or C Sharp language, so maybe you have to work on Microsoft IIS. Okay, so again, in the summary way, like we have a web. Web is a informational system. Inside we have a three things like website, browser, and the server. So these all are the summary. And then we have a client server architecture. For example, we have a website like google.com or twitter.com. So like whenever we enter that website through the browser is just like as a client. That request goes to the server, and server will send a file for the like request URL. For example, in Twitter I'm accessing a home page. So the request goes to a server from the browser, like I need a HTML code for the home page. So server will check if there is any home.html page is there or not. If there is, then server will send to the home.html to the browser, and with the help of some data and the status code. So these all are the status code like 20120x something for the file found, 30 for the some like 401 for the error or file not found, and server related 40x. So these all are the like architecture like client as a browser. We are sending a request to the server. Server will check if there is any file and send that file to the browser. And then browser having a rendering engine, that rendering engine render the HTML code into the DOM element, and then you can able to see your website. Okay. And then so this is a questions like how the computer can communicate. So you can communicate like your computer can communicate one computer to one another computer or a system through the internet protocol. So IP, like whenever you send a message over the network, so computer break that information into small pieces that is called as packets. Okay, so like basically you can send your information through the packets, and where we have a internet protocol. And then we have a IP, means the internet protocol. You can divide your IP in the 8 digit data number. So we have a like address like IPv4, IPv6. So basically in India you have to work on IPv4. So we have a 8 digit number like the size, where we can get the informations like locality, city, host, country, and all kind of things. So like these all are the IP. So from like first 8 digit could be considered as a like country address, and then region, and then subnet, and then devices. So like every website have their specific IP address. For example, if I go to the GoDaddy and then I purchase a domain, let's say vrijra.xyz. So basically I'm purchasing a IP. So my IP, so like that could be a IP. Okay, and one questions like every website have their specific IP, so it is not easy to remember the IP address for the every website. So that's why we are using DNS. So DNS is just like as an alias of that particular IP. Say in general way, like for example, I have a contact directory, so I cannot remember the each and every person of mobile number. So I'm storing the mobile number as a name. So when I go to the contact directory, I'll just type the name of the person, and then I can get the mobile number. So similarly, DNS is just like as a contact name, and IP is a contact number. Okay, so for example, if I accessing like I'll open my mobile and then go to the Google Chrome browser, and then I'll open a website, let's say example.com. So example.com having a specific IP address, and my system like my mobile device is having also a specific IP address. That request goes to the server have their specific address, and server will check the request is from this ip, and then you need to send that information to this ip. So this is how the system is work. And then like this is a basic user interface. Like we have a user will go to the browser, and then browser they will open a website, let's say example.com or google.com or twitter.com, and then browser will get the html page or web page, and inside browser we have a rendering engine, and that render your html css javascript code into the dom element, and then you can able to see your website. Okay, but how it's working right now. So whenever you go to the browser, you just need to type google.com, and that's it. So your google.com request goes to the DNS server, and that server will check like if there is any file or not. If there any file, and then the file sent to the browser part, and browser having a rendering engine, and that rendering engine render your HTML, CSS, and JavaScript code into a UI part. Okay, and the next part, how you can start a career in the web technology. So you can start your career in the web in the basically in three way. Either you can go for the front end, or either you can go for the back end, or you can go for the full stack development. So first part is like front end development. Like as you know already, like we can create a web page with the help of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So, like as a front end developer, you just need to basically focus on the designing the web interface. Like you have to work on making website or designing a website. Like we have a data in terms of JSON file or maybe JavaScript object, and then you need to add that data, or you need to print that data with the help of HTML and CSS and JavaScript. So basically, front end developer convert the data into the graphical user interface. Okay, so if you want to start your career in the front end development, so basically you have to have knowledge of core language like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So if you have a knowledge of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, you can start your career as a front end developer. And then you can go for the frameworks or a library. For example, you can go for the Angular, which is designed by the Google team, which is a front end framework where you can create a single page applications. Or you can go for the Vue.js, which is very fast, optimized front end framework. And then you can go for the React, which is not a framework, it is basically a JavaScript library, which is designed by the Facebook team. And or you can use Bootstrap, where you can create a mobile responsive web page with the help of Bootstrap. And then we have a backend. So as I told you, like we have a three things like website, browser, and the server. So basically, backend developer need to work on the server side. So they have to work on web server as well as the database part. So backend developer mainly work on the making REST API or writing their business logic. They have to work on database or manage the server and any a lot of things. Okay, if you want to start your career in backend development, so you have a basic knowledge of JavaScript, and then you can go for the Node.js, which basically it's a runtime environment for the JavaScript. And then or you can use for the PHP for creating your backend applications, or you can go for the Python or ASP.NET. And also they have specific framework that you can use for creating your backend logic or business logic with the help of Express, which is for the JavaScript. Or if you're working on you can like backend logic with the help of Django or a Flask, which is also a framework for the backend. Not in India, there is a language Ruby. There is This is not most popular in the India, but if you go to the UK side, there is a most popular language is Ruby. So we have a framework Ruby on Rails. So with the help of Ruby on Rails, you can also create your backend applications. And then last we have a Laravel, so which is a like a backend framework which is written in PHP with the help of Laravel. PHP having a two backend you can use. So you can create a application with the help of Express, Django, Rails, or Laravel, and there are a lot of things there. Go for it. And as a backend developer, you have to mainly work on the database side. So maybe you have to work on SQL database or unstructured database. Structured database is just like as a we have a data in terms of structured type of data, organized data structure. So as a structured database, mainly you have to work on MySQL as a database where we have a tables in terms of row and the columns. And then if you're working on unstructured database, you have to mostly work on MongoDB or Cloud Firestore, or there are a lot of unstructured database. And then we have a third terminology, which is a full stack development. So full stack development is just like as a front end development. You have a knowledge of front end developer technologies, stacks, and then you have so having a knowledge of backend. So like in the full stack, so basically there are a lot of job opportunities in the corporate, like they are applying for the mean stack developer, merge stack developer, or merge stack developer. So like where M is represent for the database as a MongoDB, M for the MongoDB, just changing as a front end framework, like A for the Angular, E for R for the React, and V for the Vue. And yeah, so again, I'll suggest you to go for the JavaScript, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So if you have a knowledge of JavaScript, you can build amazing applications. Like you can go for the like if you have a knowledge of JavaScript, you can create a desktop applications and iOS applications. Or if you're working on IoT, basically you can go for the JavaScript. You can create these kind of applications. So this is a kind of feeling, just like we can start our career as a front end development or back end developer, or either you can go for the full stack development. So this is up to paisa hi paisa hoga. And yeah, so there is a like hot topics in the web technologies. Like like you can create a uh, web interface or web solution with the help of these technologies like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And then you can go for the frameworks like Angular, React, or Vue, or you can write your business logic with the help of like Express, Django, or there are a lot of things. Now, but sometimes you need your solution should be accessible or performant so that you can focus on the user and the quality part. So, for example, you have some idea, like every developer have some idea. They have to start their on startup, or maybe they are working on maybe a simple project or something. And then little bit you are confused about the technical stack, like how to start with the technologies, what are the platform we need to work, like what are the database we have to select. Like either we can go for the structured database or we can go for the unstructured database. Which one is right for the front end? Like we can start for the Vue.js or Angular or React. So there are a lot of things you are confused. But somehow you decided to decided a stack and then start working on developing part. So there are a lot of things like logic. And then there might be a possibility there are some issues related to security, code implementation, or managing the database, or making it easy to accessible to all the user. So there is a unified solution, a platform that you can use where you can focus on the user part. So that's why Firebase came into the picture. So Firebase is just like as a it's a unified platform for the developers where just the developer need to focus on the front end part. Like Firebase is providing a lot of services that you can use in your applications. Like if you're working on web technologies, Android, iOS, Google Cloud, or any other platform. So you can use it. So developer need to focus on the front end part, and Firebase is providing a lot of service. You just need to integrate that service. So thus, with the help of Firebase, with the help of Firebase, you can build your applications or solutions very fastly. No need to manage the infrastructure. Firebase will take care of things. So that's why Firebase has a mission to help the developers succeed. And one of the best thing about the Firebase is just like you can go for the iOS, like if you're working on mobile platform. Like if you're working on iOS, you can use it Firebase. If you're working on Android, you can use it. Or if you're working on Flutter, you can also use it. And the web developer, paisa hi paisa. So you can use it. And this again, like if you're working on C++ or game development platform like Unity, you can use it Firebase. So that's why like Firebase is providing a lot of services. So each like these services basically categorize into some categories like build better applications, improve your app quality, or you grow and engage your user. So these all are the services just need to add that services in your applications, maybe web solutions, Android, iOS, or gaming development and Unity. So you just need to integrate that service and you just need to focus on building your application part. No need to managing the infrastructure or writing your business logic. And then we have a one more technologies which is called as PWA, progressive web apps. Like suppose, for example, I have created a website name is Vrijraj.xyz. So now I want my website will be look like as a native applications. Native is means that will look like as a Android applications or iOS applications or maybe desktop applications. So with the help of PWA, you can create your web application that will look like as a native applications. Like your website could be will be installable, means website can be installed in your Android device, iOS device, or any other desktop device. And that website will work as a offline. Like if you do not have internet connections, you can still access your website. Or through with the help of PWA, you can trigger a notifications. So like you can check when you open a website, like just for example, Flipkart.com or OYO, any other website. So there is a in your browser there is a notifications pop-up box like add to home screen, and then you can able to install that website into your mobile applications, and then you can access it. And then as you know, like we all are the Indian, so we just need to focus on the development part. So we are working on HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and we build a website. Okay, so there might be a possibility we have write a lot of a logic here, lot of codes. So there might be a possibility. Oops, it's loading and loading and loading. Okay, so I created a website, for example, and you have opened that website. It's loading. Okay, and then again it's loading. So there might be a possibility that there are a lot of website in India, or not only in India, there are in the world, like there are a lot of website. Their loading time is more than a minute. So look at this user. The user will frustrated uh, if the website loading time is more than 3 second or 4 second. So in general case, according to Google, 50% user will leave your website if it is take more than 3 seconds for loading your website. So what you have to do as a developer, you need to focus on writing a best HTML code, CSS code, or JavaScript code, and then you need to optimize your JavaScript part, CSS part, and the HTML part. So this is a most challenging task for the developers. First, they need to create a website or web solution, and the second task is to make that solution that will be look like as an optimized solution so that it will be accessible to all the devices. So this might be a situation for the developers. First, they need to create a website, and then they need to optimize that website. So how you can work on that things. So first, like you might have seen this thing in your day-to-day life, like Google. So within a few seconds, you can able to see your web page or search result. So how Google is working? So Google is using AMP, accelerated mobile page. So AMP is an open source project which is designed by the Google team or created by the Google team, uh, which is used for creating a super fast web page. Like if you are using a normal HTML code, so you can create a web page, but that if you are using AMP, so your web page 10x faster than the standard web applications or web page. So with the help of AMP, you can create a super fast web page. Google is using AMP to serve the Google search result. You can see within a few seconds or millisecond, you can able to see those websites. So with the help of AMP, you can create AMP website, or you can go for the AMP stories, which is just look like as an Instagram category, or you can create AMP email, or you can create AMP ads. So to know more about AMP or accelerated modeling, you can visit a website like amp.dev, and then you will get to know about a lot of things. And AMP is very easy. Like if you have a knowledge of Bootstrap, you just need to add that CDN, and then you need to add that components. Okay. So these all are the resources. First, like if you want to start your career in the web platform or web technologies, so first you need have a basic knowledge of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So like if you are a beginner, I'll suggest you to go for the w3school.com, and there is a one more video tutorial I have created for the HTML. You can go for it, and like with the help of HTML, you can create a structure of your web page, and then you can create a web page. So that's why we are using CSS cascading style sheet. So if you can go for the W3 school, where they have a tutorial for the CSS, and then you need, if you are working on JavaScript, so with the help of JavaScript, you can provide uh, additional functionalities, like actions. Like we have a button, you can perform some actions with the help of JavaScript. So there is a website like javascript.info. There's one more video tutorial that you can go for it. And for hot topics, like if you want to work on Firebase for specifically web, so there is a resources, Firebase for web playlist, or we have a resources for the PWA, AMP, and the framework like Node.js, Angular, React, Express, Vue, and MongoDB. So this is the link for the resources. Like if you have any confusion, you can reach out to me on the Twitter. So it's time for the questions. So do you have any questions?
That was super amazing, Bridge, with all the
Yeah.
interactive slides and easy and understandable language. It was super, super amazing. And thank you for
Yeah.
joining us. Go ahead to the questions. If anybody has any questions, they can put it in the chat section. We'll just wait for 2 to 3 minutes for everybody to pose the questions. If not, then I definitely have a few questions for you.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I don't see anybody turning up. Okay, Rich, since you mentioned about so many things about having an idea and then moving ahead with that idea, can you share with us what was your idea and how did you decide to go ahead for front end as your passion lies in front end development? So, can you share with us your idea or what motivated you to take this career ahead?
Yeah, yeah, so I have more interest in designing a web page like with the help of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So I usually invest a lot of time for making designing a good user interface with the help of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So that's why I have decided to go for the front end development where I have a data, so I can integrate that data with the help of these technologies. I have an interest with the like backend logic writing or business logic, means the REST APIs with the help of these backend framework. So basically, you have to invest your time with the these technology. So if you are familiar with the front end, and then if you have a knowledge of these technology and you are able to work on that things uh, more in deep, then you can go for the front end, back end, and the full stack development side. So just invest your time and create some open source project, and yeah.
So, Rich, what is your current stack that you're working on? Like you mentioned about the 4 tech stacks. So, what is your current tech stack that you're working on?
Yeah, so I believe in like three things. Like if you have a basic knowledge of like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, you can do anything. So mostly I'm working in a front end field. So basically, I'm working on HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and then the front end framework like Angular and Vue.js. And for the backend, I'm using Node.js for writing your business logic, and the database I can work on anything like MongoDB, Firestore, MySQL. It's totally depend on your problem statement.
Okay, and I just saw the slides during your talk, and it mentioned about Paisa hi Paisa. So, as we see these days that data science career is coming into picture and coming into limelight. So, what do you think is the scope of being a front-end developer in these days, and what do you think is the salary and growth? What are the expectations of growth that you can see in this field, according to you?
Yeah, I think salary matter, but knowledge is more matter. Like if you have an interest with this, like if you have an interest with machine learning, so you can invest your time with the machine learning. You can write your machine learning model, and then you can earn from those knowledge as a like base knowledge career. And yeah, so we have a lot of opportunities for the web technologies. Like there is a lot of open source companies, they are investing a lot of projects. Like if you have a knowledge of these technologies, you can invest, you can work on it. And there are a lot of companies who are working on R&D part for making accessible solutions or designing that things. So yeah, you can.
Okay, I guess we have a question. Supriya has asked, how does a day in the life of a front-end developer look like?
Like you as a front end developer, you have a data, like you have a apis. You need to call that API, and then you need to integrate that API with the help of front end development framework. Like if you're working on React, Angular, and Vue, you just need to integrate that API, and you have to create an interface. And yeah, that's it.
Okay, that's really amazing. And I have one last question for you. Since you are a Google developer expert for two technologies, so how was your journey for that? Or how would you suggest our audience to prepare just in case if they want to be a Google developer expert?
Yeah. So first, I'll suggest you to go for the basic concept. Like if you have a basic understanding with the like these core fundamentals, then you will be able to create these kind of solutions. So try to go for the like basics, like technologies, like how these technologies are working, or how the infrastructure is working, like architecture and all, and then try to work on the open source project. How we can create an open source project, how we can contribute with the lot of repository, and then you can create an open source project. And if you haven't like you can invest your time with the communities where you can deliver a knowledge, and you can get to know about a lot of things. Just be a part of the community, you will get a lot of things.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Even I agree with your point of getting in touch with the communities and attending community events and all, because communities actually play a very, very important role, especially when you
Yeah,
are in a
and
tech
also you
field.
can write some. Yeah.
Yes, Prij, you can go ahead. Okay, I guess there's some internet glitch from his side.
Yeah, I think there's some internet issue. Am I audible?
Oh, yeah, you are audible. You can go ahead.
Yeah. Sorry, there's some internet. I don't know what you're speaking.
Yeah, I just mentioned about the importance of communities, especially being in the tech field.
Yeah,
So I just mentioned how important the communities are and what role does a community play in one's life. So
yeah,
that was pretty much about you. Thank you for joining us, Rich. And we are super lucky to have you today. And for everyone who has joined us today, if you have any questions that you couldn't ask him today, you can connect him on his social media channels or like Twitter and LinkedIn. And he also runs a YouTube page where he publishes technical content which are super useful and easily understandable. And if you want to learn or go ahead with tech, especially front end development, you can definitely check out his YouTube channel and check out his content, and maybe you can share it with your community or maybe your friends and colleagues as well. Also, Rich, there's one more question from the audience. And I guess Preksha Shetty has asked, what are the best resources for front end? So I guess you had mentioned in the talk, but if you can repeat it again, it'll be super helpful.
Yeah, like best resource like web.dev or Google developers, uh, like documentation for the web technologies.
Okay. But apart from all the resources that Rich has shared with you right now, we will be sharing the slides and the resources with you as well via mail. Just in case if we don't reach out to you, feel free to contact us on our Twitter handle, our Instagram handle, that is GDG Hubli. And at the end of the session, your feedback is the most valuable because it will help us in improving whatever we lacked in this event. So I'd request you all to take a moment and just scan the QR code or type this URL on your web browsers and take 2 minutes to fill this feedback form. From the very start of this year 2021, I know 2020 has been vulnerable for most of us, but I guess 2021 is going good till now, and we are super glad that we had conducted 2 to 3 events in the past, which were CDS Extended, that is Chrome Dev Summit Extended India, and then we had Google Cloud Community Days India, and we also had a technical blogging session for our community members. So I hope you found all those events super helpful. And we have IWD India, that is International Women's Day India, coming up, and it'll be conducted on March 20th and 21st. So if you haven't registered yet, the registrations are open, and you can register for IWD India at iwdindia.in. And this year we have an amazing theme of courage to create. So I'd request you all to definitely register for it, and do not forget to join us all there because we have some amazing content there. And with the amazing theme that we have for this year, we will be having many wonderful women and many women entrepreneurs who will be sharing their stories and sharing their knowledge with us and what is their courage to create. So along with them, it will be super nice to know everything from your side as well. So maybe we can wait for 2 to 3 minutes for people to fill the feedback form. Also, one more thing, your honest feedback would be appreciated because we really need to know what we lacked in this event so that we'll improve in the coming event, and we decide and we learn from whatever we lacked and give you a better experience next time in the next events. Okay, I guess we are good to go. One more thing, we have moved to a new platform, and you can join our community on the new platform, that is particularly a GDG platform, by scanning the QR code here, or you can simply type the URL in your web browsers. Do not forget to join the community, because we will be sharing amazing content over there through various events, and we will be organizing various tech workshops and non-tech workshops, which will be very helpful in your career as well. So that is all probably for today. And you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter for daily updates and the updates about communities and everything related to it at GDG Hubli. So see ya everyone. Take care. Bye bye.